All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Hoops KC. I'm your host, Mark Kern. I've made sure over the first 6 shows there wasn't going to be any Blue Valley West bias, any PAC bias. I wanted to get the show off to a good start, really focus on the players in the city as we were in the heart of sub-state and state championships. But now that we're in the off season, I'm going to bring in our next guest, Liam Woulfe of PAC. And Liam, before we talk, Coach Hints of Blue Valley West, you're coming on soon, so don't worry. But we're joined by Liam Woulfe, the director of operations at PAC. Liam, how we doing, man?
I'm good, Kern. How are you?
I am good. Really excited to have you on. As I said, Liam runs one of the top organizations, AAU, in the city, PAC. Yes, I do coach there as well. So that's why, like I said, I wanted to keep that relationship a little bit away. But I feel like now's the perfect time to get into this conversation. AAU season is already in full tilt. It feels like the high school season ended just yesterday, and here we are rolling. Ball never stops, does it, Liam?
No, not at all. I feel like we've been doing AAU for 2 months already, it feels like on my end. So,
Absolutely. Off to a great start. So, Liam, let's just get into, as I said, you run PAC. Just talk about the history of PAC and what kind of led you to, A, make the organization, but B, why'd you want to get into the game?
yeah. So, I mean, I've always loved basketball growing up with it. I mean, I grew up watching like that, I think it was like the 2008, like KU national title team. It was really like 2007 is when I first got into it. And then 2008 is when I just fell in love with basketball. And it's been in my life ever since. And so I was actually a senior in high school. It's 9 years ago now, so I'm dating myself a little bit. My dad and I were coaching a little team through our church, and we just were like, man, we just love being around these young men. We love being around the game of basketball. We love doing this together. So he and I were like, you know what, let's start an AAU organization and do things for the right reasons. I think there's a lot out there in the world that don't necessarily do it for the right reasons. They want to benefit off the kids, not the kids benefit off them. So we kind of started with the idea of, like, hey, let's just give back to these kids. So we took a few kids from that church team and a few other kids together and barely scraped together one team. And I mean, golly, like fast forward 9 years later, I mean, we play on one of the top shoe circuits in the country, and we had 450 kids sign up for tryouts. We're middle school through high school boys right now, trying to get the girls' side jump started. So it's been crazy, man. I mean, like where PAC itself came from, comes from my uncle Terry. So he when I was playing basketball and I was struggling a little bit, as every kid does, right? They think they need to be on the court more. They need to, they're mad they're not making shots or whatever it is. He just kind of caught wind that I was just frustrated with basketball, and it was always a release for me of problems, right? Like mom and dad mad at me, or girlfriend's mad at me, or you fail a test or whatever it is. Like you can go play basketball for a few hours, right? You can go work out. But for the first time in my life, basketball was the thing that was causing me the stress, and I was just like, just couldn't process it, as most high schoolers can't. And he pulled me aside and he told me he told me two things. He said, one, you gotta always think smart and lead with your heart, and two, PAC. And he's like, what is PAC? And I was like, I have no idea. I'm thinking Pac-12. A lot of people think we're like from California and Pac-12 area, and but in reality, we are, it stands for passion, which is the love of the game. It's the love of whatever you do. Attitude. If you have the right attitude, anything, there's no problem too big in front of you. And C, confidence, which is confidence in yourself, confidence in your teammates, confidence in, your coaches, confidence in your whole circle. And if you put all three together, great things can happen. So, there's nothing else we'd rather call it. And it's kind of like a namesake by him. So it's great. We can kind of, put on for the city and do the best we can for these athletes.
When you said when you started it, you wanted to do it for the right ways. Obviously, it's kind of a saturated industry, if you will. And it's kind of the same as a podcast, right? So many different people have
Right.
anyone can have it. What are you going to do to separate yourself and make
100%.
make it a good product? What were some of the things you had in mind, that non-negotiables, if you will, that if I'm going to run a program, we're going to do ABC, et cetera? And that can be basketball wise or just the mentality.
Right. I mean, I think I mean, you said it perfectly. I mean, especially in Kansas City, there's so many like AAU teams between like youth is crazy. And then in high school, I mean, there's three shoe circuit teams, two or three really good independents. There's some that play on the secondary, the second tier of the shoe circuits, and they're all really good programs. There's a lot of great programs. Whereas like, I feel like in other areas of the country, it's a lot less saturated. Maybe there's just one or two. But there's a ton of talent in Kansas City. I mean, you can see that just from, looking at like the different kids that were playing in March Madness this year, that played with the Kansas City AAU team. There's a bunch of them. And so for me, when I was starting this, what I really wanted to harp on was, again, I want these players to, like eventually the ball stops bouncing for everybody. So what I wanted was to instill in them lifelong values that, extend beyond basketball. So it's not just, hey, we want to get every kid's college paid for. That's a goal, right? If they want to play college basketball, we want to help them out in any way possible. But as well as we want them to be great young men in the Kansas City area. I always tell the story when I first started this thing. I had a young man, that grew up in a not so great area and a young man that grew up in a fantastic area. And, had everything kind of that he needed. And this other, young man drove to practice with my assistant coach, like I had to make sure that like if we traveled out of town, like he had a place to stay, made sure he ate. And you would have never known the difference because they were both kids that came to work. Right. And they worked every day and they had the same mindset, but it like really wasn't for my program. They probably wouldn't have crossed paths and they wouldn't have been friends, and they're still friends to this day. And both are successful in what they're doing in life now, which is amazing. But the things that we really, I guess, harp on the court are, one, I think AAU gets a bad rep of not playing defense. So we really harp playing defense. And that's not just guarding the ball, but being the right help side, taking charges, rebounding. And that's our next one is rebounding, offense and defensively, because you can play the best defense. And then if you give up offensive rebounds, you're just giving up extra possessions. And then the third one is communication. So it's like, just talking on the court. I think it's such an undervalued thing. Like so many kids, they want to talk while they're not on the court or when they're in class or on the sideline, but when they get on the court, they just become mute. So really emphasize just talking, have a conversation out there. But then outside of basketball, I think what we do really well is, one, I think we push the social media aspect really well. I think, we have great videographers, great photographers. We post a lot. We push a lot on our guys, whether it's highlights, kind of the under the basket, the flashy ones, or like that huddle kind of top down views. We put our full games up there. And then I think something that I do really well and our coaches do really well is the communication piece to parents, right? I think I've had so many parents come up to me and be like, hey, like, like, hey, like, I don't know, you guys communicate things out so much better than places we've played before, or whether it's a school or whatever it is. And I'm like, sometimes I feel like I'm not doing a great job, and we still get those compliments. So I think that's something we hang our hat on. And then lastly, when I first started this, I think it's super important that I think as AAU, director, coaches, whatever it is, to have a good relationship with high school coaches. I think that's the reason we've grown so much. I mean, like, and am I like, have every high school coach on speed dial? No. But, I want kids when they go back to their high schools, their high school coach to be like, hey, who did you play for in the summer? Because you're doing a great job. Not like, oh my gosh, who did you play for in the summer? So I think it's a bad rep. So I try to talk to some high school coaches like, hey, like, what do you expect out of this guy, or what are things you guys do on the court? Because we want to try to do similar things. As not so it's like two different things. I think like so many times they get like they almost like want to like high school AAUs like this when it just needs to be like this.
I got you. Totally agree. Been on the AUC now with you. I've been in Kansas City high school basketball really 6 years now. Just wrapped up my 6th year at Blue Valley West. You said you've been at this a long time. I remember early when I was at Blue Valley West, the amount of just like dudes, if you will. Like we had 3 guys who became professional athletes. Blue Valley Southwest had 3 Division I players. Northwest had 1 state championship, Grant Stubblefield. Blue Valley North, like all these teams had it, like just specimens, if you will. Now, like seeing how basketball has changed the last 6 years in Kansas City, there might not be quite as many as those like imposing presences, but every dang kid on the floor is skilled. It doesn't matter if it's the star of the team. The 5th player is spotted up in the corner, and if you overhelp off the corner to stop the star player, that kid's going to hit 6 threes. What have you seen the last you said, is this year 9 for you at PAC?
Yeah, it is.
So how do you feel high school basketball has changed in Kansas City in these 9 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing too is like like the how college basketball works too. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's so much harder for kids to get scholarships, and you know, I'm sure you've heard it, like skill kills in the game of basketball. Like, and like kids are just more and more skilled every year. I feel like every year the new class coming in is just taking another step up and taking another step up and taking another step up, and it's almost been like, you know, we've been doing it for 9 years. The first 2 years we really just kind of had like one or two teams, and then you know, there's more kids that want to play AAU. They want to play year round. You know, and I'm a firm believer in like play multiple sports. Like I believe in that. Like I think it prevents injury. I think it's great for kids, but being able to like work with them, you know, maybe they're a soccer player, a baseball player, or track or something, be able to let them do both that and AAU. But yeah, I mean, I think, golly, I mean, in the last couple of years, I mean, when I was growing up, I felt like the EKL was always like so much like stronger than the Sunflower. In the last probably 4 or 5 years, I would almost say maybe flipped a little bit.
Changed
At least like
been fantastic.
like at least like players coming out. But then like this past year, like I wasn't coaching anywhere, so I kind of got to like see everything, and I felt like it was a pretty even across. I mean, of course, you look at the Sunflower; they had what, three in the Final Fours. It was
Top
that
three.
was
Good.
right.
Very
Right.
good.
And I think the EKO was up and down. It was probably the most like even year. Like I couldn't tell you who was gonna win it. You know, and it's a, you know, you can take a gut punch every night depending what team it is. So I think, you know, as these kids keep being around basketball and the game of basketball, and the younger they're, you know, the younger they are, the more skilled they're getting. It's just gonna keep growing and growing and growing. And I mean, you look at it in the sense of, you know, there's maybe only a few kids going like D1, but give them a couple of years, like I'm sure they'll transfer up too.
My name is Terrell Jolly. A lot of people call me TJ, founder and CEO of Integrity Capital Management. So Integrity Capital Management originally started out as a property management firm, but we slowly transitioned to what is described as an incremental development firm that's focused on situational housing. I know most people say affordable, but we believe in creating housing for people that are actually in need and built to the end user. I believe everyone needs a home, because when you have home, you have hope. The reality is that when you're building a business, one thing you don't think about is like what a true banking relationship means. And, you know, I had the honor and privilege of meeting Debbie early on in my career when I was just trying to get going. And as a small business, it's really challenging at times because people don't understand the concept or not believe the longevity because you're just getting started. But Debbie was willing to take a chance on me, be patient with me. I almost look at it like a grassroots initiative. She's seen and believe what I'm about. Anybody that's really true about their business and want to get some things done, I would definitely trust hands down Emprise, because Deb's team, along with Aaron and Jackie and all the amazing people that work behind the scenes, even from the treasury side, I would say, hey, give them an opportunity, because you won't be disappointed, and you will actually be in hands that actually somebody care and that will see you from start to finish.
David Starnes Allstate Insurance is a proud partner of KC Sports Network, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. If you are looking for new coverage or something that better suits your home, auto, health, or any of your other insurance needs, give Dave and his team a call. Elevate your coverage and be worry-free with David Starnes Allstate Insurance.
Looking across the city, obviously talented players in every class. I feel about 14 and 15. The eighth graders and freshmen in Kansas City might be the next just outstanding class as a whole.
100%.
Seeing across in the EKL this year, the amount of freshmen who were playing higher levels, and seeing all the eighth graders, like I feel like we're once again getting started. These next couple of years in Kansas City is going to be really, really good. I got to, as I said, this is year 2 for me at PAC. We got to coach against each other at Blue Valley West, Blue Valley Northwest. We actually split that season series, both winning on the road. So, you know, that was a fun hope. But when obviously all the stuff you said was a big reason why I joined. I think one thing that you've done a great job is all the coaches at PAC are awesome. Coach Hintz at West is always talking about, I think he has the best staff in the city, and that's obviously me being biased. But he always talks about 51%, but he lets us assistants do so much and give our opinions, and ultimately he has the final decision. When you look to bring in coaches, obviously it's a little different. Like,
Right.
we have our own teams. We're not necessarily your assistants in that regard. But what do
Right.
you look for in coaches when you bring them in to continue what you've built at PAC?
Yeah, I mean, I love like looking before trials this year, and we had, like I'm looking in a room full of coaches, and it's like, like you and I, we coached against each other many a times, right? And then it's like, okay, maybe we've been doing this long enough, like Will, like is that's a past player of mine, past player of yours too, coaching now. And then it's like, okay, I used to coach this kid when I was coaching in college, like he played for me when I was coaching college, and then, you know, or this was a teammate of mine in college or an old coach of mine. I mean, like my first ever AAU coach, Coach D's, helping out with PAC. So it's like I love looking at it as like, hey, this is like a family. Like we are all there for each other. We pick each other up. We're at each other's practices. But when it comes to like bringing someone in, one, it has to be someone who, I would like to say like has a little fire underneath them, like they're hungry, right? Like they have that fire in them. They want to be a good coach. They want to become a better coach. Because what I want to do is I want to be able to, give you your team and trust you're going to do it, right? I don't want to sit there and be like, I mean, we have 16 teams in the program. I can't coach all 16 teams. It doesn't work. I mean, a few years ago, I coached 3 teams, coached 140 basketball games in the spring and summer, and I was just like, by the end of it, burnt out. And
Again.
yeah, I can do it again. And just I think we all bring different things, right? It's all different backgrounds. We all bring different voices, and it's all great for the kids to hear. It's like we are building, in a sense, a brand. So it's like I definitely want the right people in it for the right reasons. I mean, I'm sure, as any coach knows that, especially at the high school level, like you're not coaching to make money. You know what I mean? Like you're coaching because you want to give back to the community, give back to the kids, whatever it is. So, just having coaches that want to be there, want to get these young men better, not just in basketball, but in life. People I can trust to communicate things. That's the biggest thing I look at when bringing people in. And then people who, I got to let you guys make a practice plan. Maybe it's not the best practice plan, or make a game plan and whatever it is. Like, I don't want to sit there, and I just want to be there to help you guys and assist you guys. And I mean, you saw it last year when we were out of town. Sometimes we were sitting 5, 6 coaches deep on a bench because, we all have our own team, but we all want to support the other people too. And that goes a long way for me, because it's like, wow, I have people I can trust. And then it goes a long way. I mean, then you start looking at it, and, maybe my 17s are playing, and your 8th grade group is, not playing for another 3 hours, but they're all there sitting on the sideline or behind the bench and just kind of hyping each other up. So I love that, like that family atmosphere we try to build.
Just looking, excuse me, Jess, got a couple more questions for you,
Of
Liam.
course.
One thing I always enjoy asking our guests is to describe Kansas City basketball to someone who might not be from the area. I think you're a very interesting person to ask this question because you coach against, in the summer, we're coaching against so many teams across country. I'm
Right.
thinking Rhode Island Elite when we play them, it's not going to be for the faint of heart. It is going to be a very physical brand. And I feel that, that kind of feels like Big East
Right.
basketball that we grew up watching. Still, the Big East, one of the most physical
Oh, yeah.
conferences. What is different about Kansas City basketball than maybe the East Coast basketball or team from the South?
No, I think that's perfect. That's why one of the biggest things I love about AU basketball is wherever you're going, like you could play a team from Texas and they're all big, right? You play a team from Chicago, they're slashers, or you play that team from Iowa or Nebraska, they're shooters. Like everywhere you play, basketball is different. I think that's a beauty in basketball. What I love about Kansas City kids, I think they're just so under recruited and undervalued. But I feel like they're hard nosed dudes who are high IQ players who play the right way, and they're going to run through a wall for you. Now, are they going to, maybe at the next level all be 20-point a night guys? Probably not. You know what I mean? But they're going to make an immediate impact on a roster in a way where, maybe it's, charges taken, rebounds, steals, assists. Like they just play the right way. They play together. I think it's just, I think as it continues to go too, and you see the success that these guys, are having at the biggest stages now, that I think hopefully more and more Kansas City kids start getting recruited. And, I don't know. I love the way Kansas City plays. I think it's super competitive across the board. You could have the team from Topeka or the team from Western Kansas, or, the just on the other side of the state line. But yeah, it's good basketball all around.
I agree. And I think one thing that's kind of fun you see is even though each region has its own brand, et cetera, like I think Kansas City, you in going through a high school season, you get to see a lot of different styles. There's no correct way to play, there's no right or wrong, but like the teams we played through our season, we go down to Wichita and play in a tournament. We played May South this year. Different style of basketball than playing, Blue Valley High or Blue Valley Northwest. Equally as effective. May South Flint, I think, went to the state tournament. But it's just fun to see so many different styles of basketball, across the country. But I feel like Kansas City kids have an advantage because there's a lot of different styles in the area that once those kids start playing a team from out of state or whatever, it's not,
Right.
oh gosh, we haven't seen this style of basketball. So
Oh yeah. And I feel like Kansas has such a rich history too. Like I mean, like that's literally where the game of basketball was invented, right? Whether you're a KU fan or not, you know what I mean? Like it's just like it's just like there's such a rich history in basketball. Like I mean, I grew up going to games in Allen Fieldhouse and was like, why is not every gym like this? You know, like it's like I think we're spoiled a little bit too.
all right, last question, and this is a big, what's next for PAC? You said year 9. It's been a crazy ride. I've only been here for 2. What do you want PAC to keep doing over the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, of course, our main goal, we're going to keep the main thing, which is help these young men, one, hopefully get school paid for, and two, become great young men off the court too. And most of them already are, and just, strengthening that. But I mean, this is the first year we've had middle school. That's why I got you coaching it because I trust you. I trust what you do. And it's off to a great start so far. Super excited about that. But I mean, we jump into our Pro 16 sessions, so we play on the Puma circuit, the Pro 16. Not this weekend, but next weekend we have our first session. So super excited to kind of see how our guys look in that. And then all of our other teams are getting started either this weekend or next weekend as well. And for what's next, hopefully in the next couple of years we have a solidified girls side of basketball too. And then just strengthening the teams on the high school boys side. So I'm excited for this year. I'm hopefully it's getting to the point where it kind of feels like clockwork now.
Absolutely. Liam, I love being a part of PAC. I appreciate you coming on here. Like I said, I was going to get you on here all along. I just wanted to give the kids their shine during March.
Of course.
But thank you very much, guys.
I appreciate you having us on.